What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday, and today we're going to talk about Transbots. We're going to talk about what's gotten into them. It seems like they got a wild hair up their backside. They've got a bunch of motivation, maybe a bunch of inspiration, whatever it is. Over the past week or so, they've been coming out swinging at anything moving. Now, you know me. I'm not as much interested in talking about the specific releases or teases or pre-orders or whatever the case may be. I'm much more interested in talking about the other dynamics as to why, which really in this case for me boils down into three major categories: excitement, confusion, and price. And I think all three are worth taking a look at, all three are worth having a discussion about, and of course we'll tie them in to the reveals and address a few as we move through. I'll also try to include them in some slideshow stuff so that you can at least get a look at them if you're not keeping your finger quite on the pulse. Life is busy, right? So I get it. Couple things to clean up for housekeeping this week, and that is the following: the flame toys. Nothing really to clean up. I just want to point out to you, I'm being consistent. If it doesn't stand, I'm not very fond of it. We have to have a flames toys discussion soon because there's just been too much kind of weird stuff going on with them in terms of their more expensive releases. I can't really attest to the model kit stuff because I've only looked at the two that Sean Diesel was kind enough to do for me. So I can't comment too much on that stuff, but I can comment on these figures because I think I've looked at every single mold, I believe, so far, and I think there's a worthwhile conversation there. So that's coming soon. And Sit Down Saturday last week, most people were very appreciative of it. I appreciate your appreciation, and most people thought it was good. A couple people were in there were just like, it's just company greed, and they left it at that. I just can't express to you how wrong you are there. I mean, every company wants to make money, right? It's called business. If you're not in business to make money, then why are you in business? Nobody wants to be broke so that you can have a happy shelf. However, I also think at the same time, there's a lot more interesting stuff going on as to the why of some of the prices being raised. And I want to reiterate that I don't think that any of that necessarily affects what we saw in the recent kind of huge spike in fans toy stuff, which we will get back to later on in this conversation. And everybody seemed to enjoy the dummies Love Me, Love Me Not. So don't worry, we have a collection critique coming next Friday. Episode 14, maybe? 13? I can't keep track. Alright, and with that, we can go ahead and get into it. So over the past week, Transbots released a number of reveals. A lot of them went up for pre-order, and a lot of them were just reveals. Or at least a few of them were reveals. And we can even stretch that back a bit further when I did a reveal kind of coverage here, because it seemed like something was brewing out there. I had no idea that all of this was coming, in terms of their rollout. But it did seem like something was in the water. So they pretty much put up a reveal every day. We got Springer updates, we got Galvatron updates, we got Protectobot updates, Runabout Runamuck, obviously, Punch Counterpunch, Quintesson stuff, the Prosecutor, I believe, not to mention the Omnibots. Just an awful lot came to fruition this past week and a half, 2 weeks, and if you look at it even longer, maybe over the past month. Let me tell you what I like about what they did this past week, though, specifically, with a new reveal every day. A lot of this stuff that's been going on recently that's been unprecedented has had a huge impact on how we kind of celebrate this hobby of ours, both in terms of community but also in terms of product. And it's almost like Transbots was able to take a little slice of life and kind of give us something to look forward to every day in a time where some people are having really hard days. Some people need a little bit of excitement. Some people need a little bit of something to get happy about. And they took that and they kind of capitalized on it, and they released an image or something every day, and it made the week fun. It made the week exciting. There wasn't a whole lot of new stuff revealed, stuff that we totally didn't know was coming, but it didn't matter because we're so starved for it that just having the updates, like all of the Omnibot updates, was like a pleasant surprise. It gave us something to be excited about. They owned the week in kind of third-party news. Now, to be fair, it's easy to own the week. That kind of relates to what I've been talking about, but let's look at that at a larger scale. They were also able to pump some life back into the third-party masterpiece collector, because it gets hard out there to stay excited about this stuff when nothing is coming out. And they kind of stepped in and was like, Daddy gotcha, so to speak, and just gave you something every day. Something to talk about with your friends or argue about on a message board, I'm sure, or whatever the case may be. Something. But to me, that's kind of a move. It's like a bigger move than just the reveals. It kind of uplifts everybody's spirit simultaneously to be happy about something, be excited about something, pump that life back into it. So I want to make sure that I give Transbots their flowers in regard to that, because I think it was a really cool thing for them to do, and I would love to see other companies do more like it when all the cons are getting canceled. We have TFCon coming in October. I'm booked for it. I got a table there and everything. I'm skeptical at this point whether or not it will take place. Hoping it will, counting on it will, but this is the life that we're living right now, right? But like with many things that are exciting, with excitement often comes something else. Confusion. I remember seeing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action trailer for the first time and thinking to myself, how did they do those suits? Are they puppets? Is it real guys inside? Confusion and excitement. So let's talk about the confusion a bit. One of the things that I find confusing is just how all over the place the reveals are. There's not like a kind of consistent sort of train of thought with them, it seems. It's not like they're like in a bag or in a pocket or in a lane. You got Punch Counter Punch, which is mainly from the Japanese Headmaster series. You've got Protectobots from Season 2. You've got Runabout Run Amok from Season 3. Galvatron Springer Cup 2.0 from the movie. Omnibots, which were just G1 toys. Like, there's not like it doesn't have a very cohesive sort of approach to Quintessons. Like, it just doesn't have a very cohesive approach to it, which just makes me think, like, what is their approach? What is their train of thought in regard to the kind of pieces that they've chosen? I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying it seems all over the place. It seems a little messy. Now, don't get me wrong. Love to see it. But it just seems like a kind of shotgun approach to a bullseye as opposed to, like, a sniper shot. Do you know what I mean? It's like, look, we're just gonna throw everything we can from every possible sort of continuity that we can in order to make something land, which often comes with its fair share of hits and misses. It also smells a little bit like kind of desperation, but we're going to get back to that in a bit. And just to reiterate, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm saying it's confusing. It makes me ask the question, why? Why are we so scatterbrained here in what we're doing? Or is it supposed to be scatterbrained? Hard to say, really. My next question is, why now? And I think the easiest answer for that is that they're used to having big summer shows. To say the very least, they would have TFCon Canada, and there's usually a number of shows in China and Japan at the same time that they can kind of take a benefit of or advantage of. So they may just be stockpiled, like, look, we got to get some of this out, or we're not even going to be able to start the next stuff. But the timing does seem a little strange. However, it also seems like really smart timing because not a lot of companies are revealing a whole lot. Everybody's kind of playing it close to the vest or chest and not really putting a ton out there. To me, MMC has been especially quiet as an example. So if I'm X-Transbots and I'm looking at the landscape, I'm like, well, why not strike now? Now is the time. Nobody's got anything to say. We don't even have to beat this drum very loud. It's going to be heard. Which does help explain why there's not a whole lot of new reveals, just a lot of new updates, because they didn't really have to do much. That's how starved everybody is. And then the third element of confusion regarding this for me is X-Transbots and KFC are the same, right? If you don't know, now you know. And if you know, you know. They're the same. But X-Transbots has kind of taken over KFC as a brand, and they've kind of let KFC go by the wayside because of the sketchy reputation that KFC had and the kind of more solid reputation that X-Transbots had. Not 100% solid, as we all know, but more solid than KFC. And it just seemed like that's what's to expect now. KFC's dead, it's gone, it's part of the past, and X-Transbots is the future of what Keith wants to do. We've even seen figures that once came out under the KFC banner now come out under the X-Transbots banner in order to kind of just distance themselves from KFC, which seems to make sense to me until they put out a new reveal and pre-order for a Steeljaw and a Ramhorn 2.0 under KFC. So that to me is just confusing that KFC, they're still holding on to the brand name for certain things. I don't know if they've rethought their approach and what the KFC kind of brand is going to cover. I'm not sure that it matters much. I'm not sure if I'm looking at it far too intensely. But it does seem confusing to me why they would bring KFC back to the spotlight now when it seems like they're at full speed ahead with X-Transbots. Maybe I'm on a spaceship, but that seems strange to me. It seems confusing. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's confusing. But that's not the only thing that's confusing. But this next thing is so confusing that it warrants its own discussion, which is the price of these things. In a world where Takara is charging more for a Seeker than it costs to buy a pair of waterproof Timberlands, and Fans Toys is charging more than double the price for a re-release, here comes X-Transbots like a spastic bull at a Texas rodeo, swinging its horns at anything moving for a fraction of the price. These are 2017 prices on this stuff. For the most part. I'm not sure if anything is in the $200 pocket. Maybe it is, but off the top of my mind, most of it seems to be around $100 to $150, which to me is kind of the sweet spot for this stuff, honestly. It just doesn't seem like it was possible anymore, or that there would be any reason for a company to partake in those prices anymore and people are willing to spend more. And here comes X-Transbot saying, nope, here's a ton of stuff at old school prices, and here it is. So, a guy like me has to say, why? And And I boil down to two answers. One, it shows the strength of a company that owns their own factory. It shows how much they can kind of put in the pot. Because make no mistake, nobody's sacrificing their profits here. I think this shows what type of advantage it is to own your own factory, for one. For two, I think this is also, and I could be wrong, this is just me speculating. All of this might be a soft apology for what happened with Cup. Like, look, we know Cup was expensive. We know Cup wasn't built right. Here's a ton of stuff at not cheap, but moderate, reasonable prices. It does two things, right? It apologizes, in my mind, in a way. And two, it gets people a little bit more likely to participate in buying more of their product after Cup so that they can kind of either A, give a figure a try for a first time and become a fan, or B, see the increase, hopefully, in quality and build so that the past can be forgiven and forgotten. That's my theory on it, and it's just a theory. But the last thing I want to touch on, and it's not really a topic, so I didn't include it as such, but that I just want to touch on in terms of the landscape, you know, I love it, is where does this put them in the echelon of third-party masterpiece companies? You see, I think that KFC or Transbots has always viewed themselves as second place. And I think they're wrong about that. I think they're third place. I think that MMC is second place. And you know I think that Fans Toys is first place, in spite of the issues that I have with them. But that's what struck me a little weird about this Perceptor that they're putting out. Is like, do you really want to do this? And maybe you do. Maybe this thing is so perfect that you really want to do this. But it just seems like where they are after Cup and stuff, and after the Minosaur build and all that stuff, that you probably want to play it a little safer. So I'm not sure how that's going to affect them at the end of the day. But I also know that Transformer fans have very short memory. So I would advise them to be a little cautious with that. But aside from that, look at where they sit now with the community in regards to their prices versus how people view Fans Toys and their prices. Think about that. Look at how they sit now in the community with all of their reveals and sort of transparency as to what they got coming in relation to MMC. And think about that. And I guess what I'm trying to say is if all of this stuff comes out and all of it is a home run, I think they're in a pretty good spot to take second place for a masterpiece third-party company. And from there, I think that their future is very, very bright. So with that, I just want to say I'm excited about it. I wish them the best. I'll be looking at all of it, buying most of it, and I'll sit back cautiously and optimistically. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.